As you can see here, it is tulip time in my zone 6B. And we have here a lovely barrel of tulips. These are here just for our enjoyment. They're not for cutting or anything like that. But out in my main cutting garden, I have all of my tulips that I treat as annuals. And when I say I use the tulips in my cutting garden as annuals, that means once I harvest the blooms, I pull the bulbs and discard those because they won't perennialize for me. I have a few that have perennialized over the years, but for the most part, those in my cutting garden do not perennialize. If you've just joined the channel, I'm so glad you're here. My name is Bobby. We'll go out to the cutting garden now. We'll take a look at the tulips out there. We'll discuss a little problem that I've had with the cutting tulips this year. It's been a real learning year for me, and the first year that I've had to learn this lesson. So we'll go out there now and take a look. Well, as you can see, we're out in my cut flower garden. You can see some of the beds here. And the problem that I have had with some of my tulips this year is that they are stunted. And the reason why I like to grow so many tulips for cutting is that I like to donate them to the local senior center, to the food pantry, different places like that. You see that quite a few tulips in this bed are actually stunted. So the stems are just not quite long enough for a good bouquet. Let me break one off and I'll show you. Okay, so that is really short when you're trying to make a bouquet. Now these would do fine for like a little jelly jar bouquet or something like that, but I like to make a little bit bigger bouquets. This one is nice and long, and you can see the temperature today is starting to warm up, so the tulips are starting to open up, but this one's nice and long. I'm going to go ahead and insert some photos right here of the tulips that I've been growing as annuals over the last 4 years, and you can see the difference of what I'm talking about. So these are the tulips that we grew in the crate. We lined them with cardboard, and then we put a couple inches of potting soil. We placed the bulbs, and then we topped them off with several more inches of potting soil. I love this concept, and I think I'm actually going to add some more crates to save my bed space to grow tulips in the future. I will definitely do this. You can see in this bed here and in this bed here that quite a few of my tulips are stunted. It makes me really sad, but like I said earlier, it has been a real learning year for me, and sometimes we just have to have those years to learn. I went ahead and harvested some blooms so we could arrange them and talk about the reason why my tulips are most likely stunted. Now let me say that whenever I order tulips, or if I buy them at a big box store, I always make sure that I am ordering or buying the ones that are suitable for cutting. They will have the nice long stems like we're used to, and you can see the cute little glass vase I have here. I thought that would be really cute for this little arrangement, and I filled it with cool water. Usually when I prepare my harvest buckets and when I prepare my vases and things for my cut flowers, the water that I use would be lukewarm water, but because I don't want these tulips to open up too quickly, I went ahead and filled it with cool water. Now also let me add that when you're harvesting tulips for cutting, you would want to harvest them when the bud is still tight. That way, for if you're selling them or if you're giving them away, they won't blow open too quickly for the recipient. Another thing concerning tulips and the tulips that I purchase, I always purchase the tulips that are early blooming. So you will have your early blooming, your mid-season blooming, and your late season blooming tulips. And I know it sounds a little strange, but I like to get my tulips all early blooming, all blooming at the same time so that I can go ahead and pull the bulbs out of the beds and turn the beds over for something else. Now, if you're a flower farmer, you already know that you need to have the succession of blooms so that you will have plenty of blooms to sell. But for my purposes, I always order or purchase the early blooming tulips. So here's what happened. As I stated earlier, I am in a zone 6B, the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. We had an extremely mild winter. There were a couple of weeks in February and very early March that we had unseasonably warm temperatures. As a matter of fact, 1 or 2 of the days we had close to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and that is just so unseasonable for February and March. Well, as you can imagine, over the winter, I was checking on my tulips. I was looking at the ones that were growing in the crates. I was looking at the ones that were growing in the beds, and they were all starting to pop through. I was so excited, especially the ones in the crates. I was like, they're going to be okay. They're going to be okay. They're popping through. They didn't rot over the winter, and I was really happy about that. So as I said, I was just watching them all, but then we had these super warm temperatures, very little snowfall for here. I think we had a total of about 4 inches snowfall. Very little rainfall during that period of time. I've been growing tulips as annuals for 4 years, and I've never watered them. So I thought, you know, I don't need to water these, but apparently I did. So as March started rolling in and the temperatures started getting cooler like they were supposed to be, but I noticed, my tulips aren't really growing at the rate that I think they should be growing. And then mid to late March, I started noticing some buds coming in, and I said, this doesn't look right. This doesn't look right. These buds are too short. They're not going to do what they're supposed to do. These buds are too short. So once I realized that many of my tulips were going to be stunted, that the stems were going to be too short to make really nice bouquets, I thought, okay, it's time to call in the experts. It's time to call in the big artillery. I just really need some help. I need an answer to why this could be happening so I wouldn't repeat the same mistake in the future. So I reached out to 2 of my farmer friends that I felt would have a solution for me. One of them being Andrea at Between the Fields Flower Farm, and she said in fact that she had had that problem before, and someone else told her, water your tulips. It probably got too warm too quickly and they didn't have enough hydration, so go ahead and water them. And she said she did, and the stems started lengthening out. So a week or so went by, and I decided to talk to Danielle at North Lawn Flower Farm about the problem as well. I just wanted another confirmation because I really felt like what Andrea said made sense to me, and I felt like it was right on. So when I talked to Danielle about it, she said, you know, I'm doing an article, and part of the article will be on that very topic. So she said, I'm really glad you approached me about this right now. So she said that she had also talked to several experts about why tulips would have different issues like this. And one of them being, of course, you could get a bad bulb. But in my case, you can see that there are quite a few of them that are stunted, so I knew that wasn't the problem. Another reason for your flowers being short would be if you live in the warmer climates and your bulb didn't get enough chill time. Maybe you bought pre-chilled bulbs and it just didn't have enough chill time to make the longer stems. That could be another reason. Then she talked quite extensively about the fact that the weather can heat up sometimes quite unexpectedly, and you don't get enough rainfall, you don't get enough moisture, you don't have enough irrigation for your tulips, and that will definitely cause stunted stem length. So I am convinced that that happened here. As you can see in the bed, some of them are quite tall. That's the stem length I'm used to. That's the normal stem length that I like for bouquets and things like that. So that particular bulb must have stayed cool enough, must have gotten enough moisture. It just did its thing correctly. And you might say, well, maybe the ones you bought were supposed to be shorter tulips. Well, I don't think that's the case because, like I said, I always buy the tulips that are meant for cutting. And you know, when you're trying to have cut flowers, you want the longer stem length. So when the package says suitable for cut flowers, then, you know, I'm pretty much assuming these are suitable for nice long stems. So my takeaway in this learning experience is definitely to keep an eye on the weather during the winter. If the temperatures heat up like above 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit, then we get some really warm blasts of temperatures and we don't get enough rainfall, we don't get enough snowfall, I am going to water my tulips in the future. You know, some years are just like that. They're just learning experiences for different things that we grow, and I certainly have learned from this experience. But anyway, I'm so grateful for the gardening community, and I do have people that I can reach out to for advice and for help with different issues, and that just means everything to me. So I do see several tulips that I can make some bouquets out of that are having some nice long stems, but I was really hoping for 100% return on my bulbs, and I'm not getting that, but that's okay. I'll take these tulips in the house now for us to enjoy, and I really appreciate you being here. My thanks again to Danielle and to Andrea for the great advice, and in case you ever have this problem in your garden, then you'll know what to do with it. Thanks so much, friends. Happy gardening. Bye-bye.